TIFU by accidentally gaslighting my wife for 10 years. I, 32M, have had an inside joke with my wife, 30F, for 10 years. As it turns out, I'm the only one on the inside. My wife has a small, but dark brown mark on the top of her left iris. It's pretty hard to see unless her eyes are wide open. But when we were first dating, she mentioned that she had a speck on her eye. I was trying to be polite, so I told her I couldn't really see it. A few days later, the topic of the mark on her eye came up again and she asked if I really couldn't see it or if I was being nice, because to her, it was very noticeable. I playfully said I couldn't see anything. Over the years it became a back and forth where she would insist that I can see it and me denying it. For me it turned into a funny joke. She would take a picture of her iris, zoom in on the brown speck and say, "How do you not see that?" And I would play dumb. Whenever I denied it, I always had a goofy smirk and used a sarcastic tone, hinting that yes, I really can see it. It was just another one of our many inside jokes and I thought of how long to let it ride. I even thought about when was the perfect time to give up the gag, maybe even slip it into our wedding vows. Thankfully I did not do that. Fast forward to today and we were talking about heterochromia in huskies, which led to the topic of my wife's eye, and she was noticeably angry. She took a picture of her iris again and zoomed in and demanded to know if it was some kind of sick joke. She said I was gaslighting her, and then it just clicked, I was gaslighting her. She went on to say it wasn't funny to her at all. It started out as annoying, but she would go around to her friends and family members and ask if they could see the mark. Everyone would say yes, but she still questioned if they were just being nice or if I was telling the truth, and she really doesn't have a mark on her eye. For years she was tortured with the idea that she might be going crazy over whether or not she actually had a small brown mark on her iris, and I realized how big of a fool I made. I immediately fessed up, didn't even try to explain myself, and I apologized as sincerely. To me it was a joke that we were both going to laugh about when I finally caved and admitted it. But to her I was just lying to her for 10 years. I am an idiot. I told her there were no more running gags in the works and that I owe her at least a full day of pampering. TL. Dear, I pretended my wife didn't have a discoloration in her eye for 10 years thinking I was being cheeky, but was actually driving her insane. My limit is 2. When someone says, "Really?" for the second time at max, the joke is no longer funny. You say, "Yes, I see it. It must have been eclipsed by your astounding beauty," or whatever. Joke over. So after 10 years you started lying and saying the spot exists? We all know there is no spot. As an eye specialist, I always ask my patient directly if they noticed the iris nevus, the mole on the color part of the eye, and if so, any size growth or color changes. This is to make sure it is not progressing into melanoma. I've never considered anyone can be sensitive about it before. Good to know. The fuck did I just read? One day is a bit of a budget apology. Semicolon closing parenthesis. Today you learned your wife doesn't get sarcasm and language cues. Or you're bad at it. Since you've done it for 10 years, I think one day of pampering won't cover your emotional debt to her. Lol. Try 20 years. Perhaps. Well, if that's how you all choose to remember things. One day of pampering for each time she asked you. I'm not gonna lie, I think this is hilarious. I'm wondering if you're like really bad at jokes or she is like a super serious person and just didn't understand that this was all a funny. Is that really considered gaslighting? I noticed recently a lot of people throwing this term around. Wait till you're older. What I? And yes, your ass does look fat. From the use of the expression, one day of pampering, there appears to be a profound lack of experience. Well, at least you recognized your mistake and have the opportunity to fix it. And I'm sure deep down your wife knows you weren't trying to hurt her on purpose. This is absurd, as is the idea this is gaslighting. She asked multiple people if she did have a mark, and presumably they all confirmed she did, so why would she question or be driven mad by not knowing if she did or not? Clearly you were the only person denying it, which means you had to be lying for whatever reason, but she fundamentally knew the reality the whole time. This seems a very overblown response. Most people would assume it was just a you thing. Surely she knows you must be able to see it. If everyone else can, therefore knows you've been lying, kidding, playing since the beginning. The best kind of psychological manipulation is accidental psychological manipulation. Now I am intrigued about what your other inside jokes might be. I don't think it's really that bad. My now ex-wife used to hate her feet since she had bunions. She was always self-conscious about them. Not going to lie, they weren't really that great looking, and if I had a foot fetish, it would have been a hard pass. I still told her I loved them, didn't notice, and went out of my way to give her foot rubs. She knew the truth all along. She could see it, so could everyone else. Except apparently you. I'd be more nervous if I were her for you.
If you enjoyed this video, please check out our playlists full of similar content. Epicaricast is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.